Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for being here. It's me, Aridos, just call me Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Hit the like button, share this live stream, subscribe to the channel, become a member of the channel. Don't forget, you can donate the links below. You can check my novels wherever you can find them at Barnes& Nobles, Amazon, wherever. And if you want a consultation one-on-one with me, check the fees and the instructions in the description below. And above all, I want you to listen to this teaching, take notes. If you're in traffic now, stay hands-free. And if too much distraction for you to both drive and listen, then either put your car to the side of the road and listen to the live stream, or watch the replay later on. Safety first, please. Thank you. Anyway, take notes, pray about it, see where it applies in your life, and then apply the knowledge to glorify the Heavenly Father. Thank you. But before I continue, how are you all doing today? Let me know. All right. Listen, y'all. What we're about to discuss today it's not something I haven't addressed before, but I don't mind repeating myself. Nevertheless, this really needs to stop. And what is it that really needs to stop? Believers have to stop being so surprised all the time when retaliation happens in their lives. Okay, I'm going to use some parables as examples right now. You have Jeffrey. Jeffrey uh, has a criminal record. He's been to prison for 2 years for armed robbery, and he's out now. However, Jeffrey decided to level up his criminality, so he and two of his criminal friends they do a hostage situation, and the negotiator of the police is talking to them to get the hostages out, and eventually they agree to let hostages go because a car was there waiting them. A car was put there for them to leave, and they got bags with cash, so they left. They were so surprised that later they were arrested because it was a electronic device in the car that followed their route. So they got convicted and sent to prison. In prison, he was telling his inmates how did this happen, and they were telling him, "Bruh, are you kidding me? You mean to tell me you guys do a whole hostage situation? I don't expect the police and the SWAT teams all be on you. You think they're not prepared for things like this? You think they're just gonna let you walk out with all that cash just like that without trying to get to come after you? Come on now, why were you so surprised?" And in this case, the other inmates are right. I mean, what the heck was Jeffrey thinking? Okay, let's say now you have a tourist. Let's call her Amanda. Amanda is traveling to India just for next just for a vacation. But the thing is, she arrived in the raining season, and she was foretold by the travel agency that she will be during a raining season, so she needs to pay attention to that. And she thought, well, I'm just gonna bring my umbrella with me if it's raining. Well, she was there on a vacation in India, and then she went on Instagram Live complaining, ventilating about the mud, all the mud on the roads, how dirty it was traveling, all of that, because there was mud everywhere because the roads weren't well maintained that area. And then there were other people on social media making fun of her, saying, "This lady from the West, so privileged, thought that nature would uh, would alter itself just because of her." I mean, lady, you're going to a country where you have local poverty, even in the tourist areas, you have local poverty. It's a known fact that the part of India you visited, that over there, a lot of the roads are not well maintained. And you're in a rainy season. A rainy season means a lot of rain is falling. You should have known that just going with an umbrella will not solve much. You should know that if it's a rainy season, that means it's quite dangerous to travel on the road. Unless there are railways, you have some difficult time traveling. I mean, this is common sense. What do you expect? And in this case, even though you may not approve of people making fun for like that on the internet, the people are correct at calling her out, saying, "Lady, what are you thinking?" Well, you know what? The same thing I often have when I hear a lot of believers talk. Not all, but a lot of believers, when they talk, especially about things going on in their lives or in their daily lives, I notice often a lot of believers are so surprised or so shocked. I'm thinking, why are you so shocked about? Why so surprised? I mean, you seriously expected Satan and evil spirits to just lay back and begin to clap for you and give you a standing ovation? You're doing the will of Heavenly Father? Are you kidding me? Did you really expect that the world that operates in violence are going to be happy that someone is growing into some leverage that can overrule their violence and violence all the world has to function? Are you, come on, y'all. Just think for a moment. You shouldn't be surprised that if you are growing in some spiritual leverage that could overrule the world's violence, that the world that relies on violence may have an issue with that. Well, that's obvious. It's like 1 plus 1 equals 2, or 2 plus 2 equals 4. If someone comes to you and says, "Whoa, Rashid, I just found out 2 plus 2 equals 4. Oh my God." And they keep talking about like some giant revelation, you're going to think, what? Yo, a tiny child. No, 2 plus 2 equals 4, y'all. Because they can see the fingers, how many fingers they have on. I mean, how the heck is this such an enormous revelation to you? I mean, imagine someone comes to you and they talk for hours about 2 plus 2 equals 4, about how this was such a big revelation, it really changed your life forever. And this individual is in their 30s or they're beyond their 30s. How would you respond to that? I mean, one thing I know for sure is at least you're going to be the one shocked thinking, you're in your 30s or 40s and you just figure out 2 plus 2 equals 4. Uh, well, no, I mean, you will have a hard time processing this. Well, there's the thing. If someone just became a believer, I can understand that they have difficulty understanding certain things about the spirit world. But if someone has grown with knowledge of the occult and then become a believer, they have a step ahead because they have more knowledge of the spirit world. But even if someone had no knowledge of the spiritual world whatsoever, which is quite impossible in this day and age, even before the era of the internet, there were people who had some basic knowledge of the spirit world. But let's say, for example's sake, someone had no knowledge whatsoever about the spirit world because they grew up in an atheistic household. Again, it's very unlikely, but okay. Even in that case, in the first 2, 3 months of them being a believer, I can understand them stumbling here and there, having so many questions. But if they've been a believer for years or decades, and still their knowledge of the spirit world is so low, two things are possible. Either that believer is not serious about actually being delivered, being redeemed, or they're being taken advantage of big time. It's one of the two. I hope it's not the first, because that's really detrimental for yourself and other people. If it's the second, then somewhere there's something you're holding on to that's grounding Satan ox towards you. Simple as that. Simple as that. Now, let me give another parable to you. Let me say, okay, you have this, guy called Rick. Rick has good contact with his parents, which is good, which is healthy. However, his father is not that healthy, and everyone knows about it. It's good that you have a good contact with your parents. That's a healthy thing. But if your parents are not that healthy, then that healthy attitude of yours will be detrimental to you at some point, because you'll be affected by whatever issue it is that's unresolved with them. So in this case, you have Rick. Rick now has a father, and this man, he has almost no empathy to how other people feel. Whenever he talks, he just expresses what he thinks and feels, and F you how you feel about it. I'm just being real. I'm just being real. I'm just blah blah. You always have an excuse for doing that. So one day you tell this Rick, Rick, the way your father's behaving, and he's in his and he's in his 50s, in his late 50s. Rick, why is this man behaving that way? So insensitive towards other people. That's quite narcissistic. I mean, what goes on over here? And Rick tells you, nah, he's a good man. He has a good heart. He just needs some deliverance. He has a little issue here and there. So Rick kept sugarcoating and making excuses for his dad. But you told him, Rick, it seems like your father's a narcissist, or at least heading towards reprobation. There's no way a grown man of that age does not know that he needs to watch his mouth, how he talks to other people. And so even ask him, is your father talking like that to a police officer in the street? Does he talk that way towards the employer? Does he talk that way towards someone on the street that may be dangerous, carrying a weapon, whatever? And Rick became silent. And you tell him, Rick, you see what I mean? Rick kept brushing off what you were saying. A few months later, Rick calls you and says, you know what? You were right, yo. You were right. My dad just called me, and for 2 hours straight, he was bitching, complaining about my mom, murmuring, complaining about her 2 hours long. Things that happened even before I was born, he kept complaining about. Then he was complaining about things that happened yesterday, and he kept going on and on. And after complaining about my mom, he began to complain about the politics, all that. So for another hour, he was complaining again. Eventually, began to accuse me of me not being manly enough and all of that. And at that point, I thought, okay, enough now. I hung up. And then you tell him, didn't I tell you months ago that this man doesn't add up? Why didn't you listen? And he said, well, he's my dad. And then Rick confessed, well, when I was growing up, sometimes when he was called out on something, either by his employer or my mom would call him out on his bad attitudes. When he's at home, y'all, he would scream, shout, sometimes throw objects, and he would do that for 2, 3 hours straight. And sometimes for days, he wouldn't talk to anyone, give everyone silent treatment at home. At work, he had no choice but to behave, but even there, he remained unnecessarily silent. He lost a few jobs because of that. And then you look at Rick and you ask him, Rick, if you grew up with him misbehaving, being criminal like that, being so insensitive like that, neglecting his own family because he just wants to run his mouth in a negative way. I mean, if you were still when you were still a child or you're still a teenager, underage, living in his house, okay, I can understand you want to make excuses because you don't have other option to leave. But bro, you're a grown man, live in your own house, have your own income, have your own family. You should have known a long time ago, since you turned 18, you should have known that this man is bad news. Because the way he was treating you all, nobody should behave that way. Why the heck did you keep contact with a man like that, y'all? And your mom, I don't want to hear any excuse for your mom. Why did she stay with a horrible man like that? What if one day he loses his mind and lay hands on her? What if one day he goes into a psychotic mode and harms people over there? Or what if he harmed you or one of your siblings? Actually, he did verbally. He also did by acting in an intimidating way. I mean, him one day offloading like that onto you, it was bound to happen. Why are you so surprised? Now, in this case, for those who follow the parable, what was the problem of Rick? Let me know in the live chat. I'll wait for 1 minute. What was Rick's problem? Let me know in the live chat. I'll wait for a minute. I don't answer yet, just 20 minutes, 20 seconds still. All right. In this case, Rick was in toxic denial. Rick did not want to admit the type of people he grew up with. Now, despite the fact his parents did all the else for him, they even saved up cash for when he turned 18, he could go to college without taking a student loan. So his parents did some good things for him. It's not like they were horrible monsters, harming their child all the time. No, they were not. However, there were things about them that didn't add up. There were things about them that had to be addressed. They were both damaged people who didn't want to admit they were damaged. So they were in toxic denial, no one admit how damaged they are. They were, especially is that. And so at some point they became perpetrators because they didn't want to look at how damaged they are, but they kept acting, but it kept passing on the damage to other people, including their own children. So at some point they turned into perpetrators, and they knew very well what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. So Rick turning 18 should realize, you know what? These people know very well what they're doing. They refuse to ever look at themselves and admit that they're damaged, and they especially don't want to hear that they are now damaging other people and they need to take account for it. So at that point, Rick should realize, okay, with people like this, you will only have bad outcomes coming because there are open doors for Satan to work through. But because Rick did not want to admit what he was dealing with, he was a toxic denial, he ended up being an accomplice of their violence. And one day that violence turned on him. So Rick became an accomplice of his parents' violence, meaning that they didn't want to face themselves, don't work on themselves for the better. So because he became an accomplice by keeping making excuses for them and keep sugarcoating what they were doing, and he kept presenting them as these honorable, upstanding people, even though they were not, because he kept doing that, and he used the Bible as excuse for doing this. Nowhere in the Bible are we told to sugarcoat this honorable behavior nor violence of people. Nowhere. In this case, in this case, there was no reason whatsoever. Even religious people, right, would tell Rick, just because you raped an Aryan mother and father doesn't mean you should condone everything they're doing and act like they're the best people ever while they're not. I mean, they did good things for you. You had an easier start in life because of them. I mean, your dad even when he lost jobs, you found work immediately and all that. They made efforts for you. So okay, you're glad with all they did for you, but it doesn't mean that now because they did all of that, it's okay for them to be harmful towards themselves and other people. There were even hyper religious people that told them, bro. And the thing is, everyone could see Rick's in toxic denial, and because of this, a lot of people began to avoid Rick because people began to think, well, hold on a minute. If this guy doesn't want to face his own parents, I mean, that means he's not willing to face anything else in life. That means this type of man that will let bad things happen because he doesn't want to admit what goes on. And Rick, because he talks the narrative of his parents, he's scared of a lot of people being involved with them. Because of that, he will miss out on opportunities, relationships, and breakthroughs in his life. So one day, when the violence of his parents turned on him and his dad began to offload on him directly after draining him by over 3 hours complaining, finally he realized, you know what, I need to keep this from these people. And it's after that he realized that, you know what, by him being in toxic denial for so long about his parents, he developed blind spots also, and now he realized that he actually harmed his own life by doing that. Because a lot of people were scared for even being involved with Rick because they thought if this guy is not even real about his own parents, how can he be real about anything else? That means if there's a dictatorship developing in a country, he'll make excuse for the government too. That means if I ever am in danger and I confide in him, if it's too much for him to process or he may want to deal with it, he'll make excuses, right, to gaslight me. And those other people were not wrong for thinking that. They were not wrong for thinking that at all. And they did the right thing by avoiding Rick. Now, unfortunately, there are too many believers out there who are just like this Rick. They're just like him. It may not be that they're in toxic denial towards their parents, whatever. Because some people, they're quite real about that. I mean, if one of their people is out of line, they're out of line. They're not sugarcoating it nor making any excuses about it. Absolutely not. And that's totally fine. That's how it should be. However, it could be that they are in toxic denial about other things in their life. It could be that a believer, for example, is holding on so much onto cultural norms, values, all of that, how to behave, how to be respectful towards other people, and all of that. So they have all these restrictions they operate in, and they just don't even see that they're actually blocking their own blessings. So let's say you have this believer who's into making video games. He just finished making his first game using an open source software. And one day there's this gaming event nearby him, and you have this famous Japanese game designer coming over there. And that guy, he's known to walk openly in the public, does security, all of that. So this believers call him Ramy. Ramy's talking about this. Man, I really would like to go to this gaming convention, but I don't have any cash left, y'all. After I finish paying bills, I really can't go there anymore. And then one of his colleagues asked him, listen, how often will you have the chance to go and meet this Japanese gaming designer? Does this happen every day? Or, well, likely it's a one in a lifetime event. Okay, you can pay a bill later, next month, whatever. Just save some cash of your wages and go there. And you know what? Ramy did that. He went there to the game event. And he even saw the gamer. The gamer even greeted him in person. So he was so excited about that. When he went back to work, he told his colleague about it. So the colleague asked him, okay, did you get an email or a phone number, whatever? Oh, well, he handed out a business card of himself. Okay. You are a game designer too, just like he is. Did you talk to him about your game designs? Yeah, I mentioned it. And he encouraged me to continue. Okay, so he encouraged you to continue. You have his business card. Did you email him about your plans? Or did you email him asking for investment or some assistance? And Ramy is saying, oh, yeah, I don't know. And goes, why didn't you do it? Well, he's that high-ranking Japanese gaming designer. I mean, I'm just an amateur over here. I mean, I had to show some respect. He's a senior in the field, whatever. And the colleague's face changed. He got so disappointed and even sad hearing Ramy talk. Eventually, just cut off the conversation in a polite way and just left. At home, he talked to his wife about it. And he told his wife, darling, this man I work with at work, Ramy, you know about him, right? And the wife says, yeah, you talked about him often. He's a hard worker. This guy used an open source software to make his own game. And his game, for an amateur individual, is quite good. So he's a game designer. He almost missed out on a good opportunity because he didn't have enough cash to go to an event. And I told him, listen, pay one of these bills later next month, or borrow some cash from people, whatever. Or I even proposed to him, listen, if you need, I can help you out a little bit, not too much, but a little bit if necessary. And he said he got it, and he went to the event. He almost missed out. He met this famous Japanese game designer that he's such a fan of. The guy even was happy he was designing games, gave him his business card. And and the wife said, what happened? Did he talk about his gaming plans? Did he ask for investment in person? Or did he send an email? Nada, the husband said. And the wife jumps up. She lay down in the bed and she kind of jumped up thinking, what? She kept looking at the husband. Yeah, darling, he did not in person even make an attempt to pitch about his gaming. Neither did he email him afterwards saying, yo, I'm the guy who you met at that convention. Yo, just want to mention some gaming plan I have. Are you willing to invest, or do you also want to invest? They didn't even do that. And the wife and the, and the wife was saying, but darling, why not? Well, he kept saying, well, this Japanese game designer, he's high rank, he's a senior, you need to have respect for him. He was treating this man like this man was God. And then the wife told him, listen, aren't Christians praying to the Heavenly Father directly? And does this man claim to be a Christian also? You mean to tell me you're willing to pray to the Heavenly Father directly? In the name of Jesus, then. You're willing to do that? God himself holds heaven and earth together with his might. But you're too scared or too intimidated to approach a human mortal just like you. With mortal meaning he has a mortal body. I mean, we're all spirit beings, but in daily life, we're mortals because of our bodies. You mean tell me he had so much reverence for a mortal fellow human being that he didn't even make effort for his future? It's not like this game designer was an asshole, being very distant and condescending. No, the guy even encouraged him to keep making video games. So why didn't he just talk to the guy saying he needs investment, this and that? I mean, what the hell? And the guy told his wife, well, yeah, I don't know what goes on with this man, y'all. And the wife told him, darling, this man can get millions of investment, or he can get a good paycheck, and he go to making games full time, and he could leave this job. At some time, he doesn't even have to work anymore because there's so much revenue coming in from his games. So this guy can become a multi-millionaire, or he can at least live a higher standard of life. And he doesn't realize that. He keeps holding on to this 9 to 5, getting exhausted. And the husband said, I don't know what goes on over here. Now, okay, that was the parable. In that parable, this Remy was an amateur hobbyist game designer. When he went to this event that he almost missed out on, but when he went there, the big game designer that he met in person was impressed by him. So he had all the opportunity to break through in the gaming industry. But he was holding on to his job. He was, of course, I'm not saying he should quit his job out of the blue and not be able to pay rent and put himself in financial difficulty, but come on now. Become a bit more flexible. You have options, you have opportunities. Even his colleague was so disappointed, thinking, what the hell, y'all? And let me tell you, there are believers like that out there, like this Remy. There are believers like that out there. Listen, how you were raised is not on you, but it is on you to reflect how you were raised and to examine whether how you were raised will benefit you or not. If you were raised by parents who always believe the best in people, okay, your parents intended well, or better, your family members intended well, but that liberal thinking will get you in trouble out there because not everyone out there has good intentions, and some people don't even care about being of quality. You have bad people out there. Bad people exist, and also evil people exist. But even if you never encounter evil people, you have bad people out there. I mean, for you to always want to see the good in people, that's how you were raised. Okay, you were raised that way. And I don't care how good intention of your parents or the people that raised you were. The way you were raised will get you killed eventually if you don't watch out. So you have to check whether how you were raised is even something that's useful or practical for you. Do you know there are a lot of believers who don't open their mouths when it's needed and just let bad things continue? You can have a believer at work and the manager wants to plan them in for some extra hours and they just remain silent and compliant. They don't open their mouth and say, sir, I can't do it back then because I need some time for myself, my family, whatever. They don't do that. Why? Because the way they were raised was anytime they opened their mouth and they said something that was a bit challenging, not only all the adults around would turn on them saying, you need to shut your mouth, speak when you're spoken to, you need some manners and that. So this individual was traumatized. And eventually they began to believe that they don't matter that much unless other people want them to matter. So they actually began to believe this low view of themselves that's not even realistic. And they act like that their whole life up until now. And nobody told them that, listen, uh, being us, uh, being real about yourself does not mean being an asshole and not being sensitive towards other people. You could be sensitive and kind towards other people and still say, listen, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not into that, or that's not a good idea. But the fact this believer never learned any of this. But for him or her to learn this, he or she will have to unlearn the toxic people pleasing that they were raised into. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with people pleasing. People pleasing, there's nothing wrong with that. But toxic people pleasing is. Or let's say I have a believer that was raised that pleasing people is evil. Pleasing people is cowardly. That's bullshit. But the thing is, pleasing people is how you form communities. When you pay attention to the traffic rules, you are pleasing the population by being safe on the road. When you arrive on time at work, you're pleasing your employer. So pleasing people is just the way things work in life. However, there is this thing called toxic people pleasing. There's a difference in people pleasing in general and toxic people pleasing. But a lot of people don't see the difference. They think all type of people pleasing is cowardly. So now you have this believer who's always direct and harsh, always saying how it is, saying what it means and mean what he says. And his marriage is breaking down. His children want to deal with him. And he kept telling the psychologist or psychiatrist, I don't understand why my wife wants to divorce me or why my children don't want to be around me. And psychiatrist tells him, sir, do you ever consider how other people feel with how you act? Yo, I'm not an ass kisser. I'm not a people pleaser. I mean, nobody's doing that with me. Blah blah blah. I was raised to be a man, to be this and that. So this man was holding on to how he was raised. However, the way he was raised was totally dysfunctional and inconsistent with actual how life works. Okay, toxic people pleasing is wrong, but you should be pleasing people in your life. Simple as that. You can't be so disregarding of people and expect them to remain happy with you. Now, people have no rights to be blackmailing you and try to control you to relieve themselves. That's narcissism that goes so far, but people have the entitlement and the natural right to expect you to consider them to the best of your ability. Now, they cannot expect to be the main priority in your life because they're not the Heavenly Father. However, you can't just go around and act like you don't owe anyone anything. What is this? And I'm telling you all, a lot of believers are not willing to let go and unlearn and forfeit the dysfunctions they were raised into. Whereas at home, or at church, or at school, I don't care. If you were raised in dysfunction and violence, I'm telling you that at some point you have to own up to it, admit that you have been damaged by that, and it's up to you to not want to be damaged anymore and want to be better. You have to want to be saved. Now, look, that phrase, you have to want to be saved, refers to you have to want to be in a better condition. You have to want to have solutions. I'm not talking about unbelievers. I'm talking about believers who are saved. But the thing is, they are saved as a human being, means they're born again, but they're not delivered from all those curses. They're haunting them. So they're not safe in daily life because they have curses of haunting them. They have to want to be saved from this curse. Now, they are saved from the lake of fire and saved from reprobation because they became a believer, but they haven't been delivered from these curses that haunt them. And because of that, they're not safe in daily life. They should want to be safe in life, and they should want to have been in life. And if they did, eventually they would have so much spiritual knowledge and they would have shut down these curses. Look, there's a difference between a believer that's a bit slow in understanding things and practicing things, and a believer who simply is not interested and just wants to keep fleeing. One is dysfunctional, the one was a bit slow, the other one is just neglectful. A dysfunctional believer, to some extent, you still deal with them. A neglectful believer, you need to avoid. Do you follow what I'm saying here? You cannot be unequally yoked with a neglectful believer and expect nothing bad to unfold in your life. Are you kidding me? Okay, let me give another example. Let's say you have this woman called Erica, and Erica lived at her auntie's house for just for like a few months. And afterwards, when she moved out of her auntie's house, she changed her address. She moved houses 3 times after that, where she was a student, all of that. So it's been 10 years ago since she last lived at her auntie's house. She updated her address years ago. Then one day, the IRS sends a letter to Erica's aunt asking for her income information. And the aunt, instead of calling her up and say, hey, Erica, why is IRS sending this thing towards me? You're not a U.S. citizen. Neither am I. I mean, I know you've been to the United States for an internship and you participated in some entrepreneur workshop over there. But what's going on? I mean, you've updated your address to everyone else. If she would do that, you could say, just send her a tour and I will contact the IRS. But in this case, the aunt kept complaining about it to her husband, to her children, all of that. So eventually, the husband called her and said, Erica, your aunt, my wife, got a letter from IRS. It was addressed to you. And she got quite upset, this and that. And you thought to yourself, why didn't your aunt call you directly? But anyway, the husband called and you dealt with it. And you showed them proof that you messaged the IRS saying, listen, I'm not a US citizen. I don't even live there anymore. I have nothing to do with trade United States. At this my right address if you want to contact me. A year later, this again sent a letter to your aunt's house. Now, either this is incompetence on the behalf of the IRS, or there's a sinister motive involved because you did update your address and it's clear that you're not a US citizen, neither your auntie. I can understand your aunt is a bit upset that again this year the letter comes, but hold on a minute. Why don't she call you directly? And here's the thing, if she's not a US citizen, nor her husband or her children, neither you, her niece, guess what? The IRS is just harassing them. They can file a complaint about it and they'll be in trouble with their homeland. Simple as that. Easy solved, or put a return. And mention Erica, hey Erica, you update your address, but the kids still send it over here. You don't need to look into this because it seems like there's something bad going on over here. That will be constructive, but again, this time the auntie became hyper emotional again. In this case, it was not her husband, but her own mother that began to contact her, talking about how her aunt was doing this and that, and the mom began to fill in, saying, "If you're in trouble, you need to tell us this and that." So at some point, Erica got drained because of the situation. Now, the problem here is not the IRS that was incompetent or that has sinister motives. A problem is not even Erica, because Erica did her part. The problem is, well, she did her part relating to the situation, I mean. But Erica was neglectful in one area. Erica had to realize, hold on a minute. If this happened by mistake, why didn't my auntie call me the first time herself saying this? Why did she go out murmuring complaining about it, even though the letter wasn't even addressed to her? I mean, sometimes when people move out, some people still use their old address because by mistake, whatever, you can just put a return. Problem solved. Why did her aunt see the letter from the IRS? You're not even allowed to open other people's mail to begin with. But anyway, why did she lose her mind and assume difficulty that don't even exist? Even if the letter said that Eric had to pay back, owe some tax to the United States, thing is, that aunt is not Erica. That aunt is not even a US citizen. And that aunt is not even involved in the United States. So even that would be an empty threat. And for Erica, it's not a US citizen either. And she has been in America for years. So what's up? Any lawyer or any judge would tell you, ma'am, just put a retour or file a complaint at your authorities, whatever. But the aunt went crazy. So that showed that something was wrong with the aunt. And the fact the aunt's husband and her children didn't call her out means that they're actually enabling this. So she should have known from the first time this mistake happened from the IRS that, okay, this exposed how my aunt and her family are. So from now on, let me lower contact with them. And if my mom and my parents are making excuse for my aunt, okay, I'm saying, okay, you know what? I need to lower contact with you all too. No, Erica did not admit nor acknowledge any of this. So a year later, when a similar situation happened and she got drained, thing is, why did she even pick up the phone? Why did she hang up the phone and say, "Mom, stop doing this. This is honorable, even disrespectful. You talk to me like this. I don't want to deal with this." Where was her value for herself? In this case, there was a satanic door in her life that had to be closed. Named the satanic door where the people in her life, in this case her auntie, the auntie's family, and including her own mom, that were superficial people that always assumed things instead of investigating things. There's nothing wrong with assuming things. If you go to an hospital and see someone wearing a nurse's uniform, you have a right to assume they are a nurse. If you go to a police station, someone walk around in a police uniform, you have a right to assume they are a police officer. Now, they could not be a police officer, maybe they're an actor, but why would the actor be there? If you go to a circus, you can assume there are clowns over there or circus artists. So assumptions in themselves are not, there's nothing wrong with having assumptions if assumptions match the context and reality. But sometimes we have assumptions based on what they were told, how they were raised, and without any evidence nor proof to back it up, to suggest why they're assuming something. Now, if this is how uh, Erica's aunt and mom and those people operate, and they don't want to change, then in this case, I have to realize, okay, I can love these people from a distance, pray from all of that, and talk to them once every blue moon. But what I'm not going to do is keep myself available to them, because at some point they are going to be used uh, to derail me from my path in serving Heavenly Father. And guess what? It happened. Erika got drained for days by her mom going after her like that. I mean, and now Erika is saying this is an attack from the enemy, attack from the enemy. Well, you know what? It is an attack from the enemy. Demons did use the IRS to cause the situation because the demons knew that your auntie would go crazy like that, and the demons knew that your mom would act out like that. So demons tricked the situation to happen. But don't just blame it all on the demons. Your auntie and her family should know better. And by this time, they should know not to just become emotional and ventilate like that. I mean, that's not even a healthy thing to do. And your mom should have realized, you know what? I don't want to be part of this. Talk to my daughter directly. So, but the thing is, in all of this, you have given the demons the opportunity to act out against you, and you've given your auntie and your mom were actually open to demonic use, you allow these two people who are not stable, would even care about being stable, you allow them to take access to you. So by that, you kept the window of opportunity open for demons to act out against you. So the demons act out against you. That's on them. And your auntie and your mom, those people were triggered and they act out against you. Well, especially that's on them. But it's also on you for them even having this opportunity to do this. If you were a little child or you were a minor living in their house, all of that, you had no other option. Okay, I can understand. But come on now, you're living on yourself. You have your own finances, all of that, and you still let these type of people that have access towards you, and now demons are using them against you. I mean, why did you give the opportunity? And what I'm saying is, there's so many believers out there who keep giving opportunities to the devil. Aren't we told to give the devil no food, no foothold? Yet that's exactly what a lot of believers do. They're giving the devil a foothold. Listen, if you continuously are surprised by Satan's move on your life, listen, even slow believers eventually realize, okay, this is just the devil at work. But even unbelievers realize, okay, there's something paranormal, something off over here. But then believers were so surprised over and over again. Let me tell you, those believers are showing their in toxic denial. As a matter of fact, these believers are narcissistic in the sense that they don't think they think they're too important to have to face themselves and improve and adapt. They always say this like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. There's always an I don't know coming out of their mouth, and there's always some shock or surprise coming out of their mouth. I mean, what the hell, y'all? Listen, I'll keep it 100 with you over here. A believer was continually surprised by Satan's moves on their life or by other people's actions against them. Um, I'm telling you, you have to be extremely cautious what you share with this believer because their conduct in life shows they can't be trusted. As a matter of fact, God doesn't trust them. That's why God did not promote them yet. That's what goes on. So if God does not trust this believer, why are you trusting this believer? And let me tell you, there are even unbelievers out there who don't trust this believer because they see this believer is not even consistent in what they're claiming. But now you have you. You are keeping this satanic door open in your life. If you keep a door to Satan open, why are you surprised when he walks through it? You want to keep it open for him. So actually, you're the one inviting him and giving him opportunity to come into your life. Can I get an amen over here? Looks quite simple. You need to be real about yourself and self-reflect. Not to beat yourself up, but just to see where you can improve, and you need to be committed to improving and expanding. And with this, you also be aware of people around you to see where they are at and if they're willing to be better. You need to be examining the people you have around you and the people especially people you're close involved with. If you're not doing this, it's going to be on you when these people now end up being used against you. And yo, do you know there are people in the world, unfortunately, sometimes even believers who end up murdered? And then you find out that the people that set them up were the people they were closest to, or the people that they confided in. Yes, it also happens to believers now. Not it doesn't happen to all believers like this, and they end up killed like that. Even though from time to time it happens, but you have believers now who end up homeless. They end up in prison. They end up falsely accused of crimes, or they end up being chased away. There's so many believers ending up. Let me say, a lot of believers going from tragedy to tragedy, misfortune to misfortune. We should be going from faith to faith and glory to glory. We should be going from faith to faith, from glory to glory. We should not be going from misfortune to misfortune and tragedy to tragedy. The reason why a lot of believers go from tragedy to tragedy and misfortune to misfortune is because they are in toxic denial, and this is what keeps these satanic doors open. If they would just quit the toxic denial and see things for what they are, they would realize that some of the people they have in their life, some of the things they may be involved with, could be used against them in a sensitive way. So they realize, okay, I need to close this satanic door. I'm just telling you, close that door, y'all. How much poison do you need to take before you die? What if you keep tolerating poison into your body and get surprised if one day you'd go to the emergency, to the ER, emergency room at the hospital, where they need to surgery on you because the poison has been affecting your organs. I mean, if you tolerate poison going into your body over and over again, you're the one to keep taking the poison. It's not like people are forcing it into your mouth or injecting it into you with needles. If you keep taking poison through food or whatever, guess what? How can you surprise when your body goes backwards? Well, the thing is, a lot of believers, not all, thank God it's not all, but a lot of believers are haunted by, a lot of believers are under curses. And I've explained to you before in other live streams, a curse will only remain on you if you participate in it. The moment you participate in it, the curse will break off of you. It doesn't mean that every situation around you is going to improve, nor that everyone around you is going to improve in how they're treating you, but at least you are now free to move away from all the bad things once the curse is broken off of you. You cannot be casting out evil spirits, but you still participate in the curse if it brings evil spirits. If you cast out evil spirits from your situation, but you keep participating in the curse, that curse is what enabled evil spirits to be active around you anyway. So why the heck are you casting out evil spirits, but you keep operating in the same curses that are powering those demons? Why are you fighting the fruit, but you watering the root? Listen, I'm not telling you to learn all the magical spells out there, because not even pagans know all the magic spells out there. I'm not telling you to go and read the witchcraft books. I'm not telling you to go out there and be obsessed with secret societies, all of that. I'm not telling you to go out there and dive into the depths of Satan. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm telling you is you ought to be aware of how demons operate and how the masses operate. You got to gain knowledge in that so that you can be ahead of things and you can shut down all these all these acts against your life before they begin. You will still have people take action against your life. You will still face retaliation, but you can be ahead of it. You can be victoriously ahead of the retaliation. But it's only happening when you're doing your part. And a lot of believers are not doing their part. It doesn't say in the Bible, faith without works is dead. You're still saved, but it's not faith that will benefit you in this lifetime. So it's dead. You get me? And a lot of believers, they don't have the faith practical for daily life. The only thing they have is that they're born again. They have the Holy Spirit in them, but they're not walking by faith because they're not acting out on their faith. Faith without you acting on it is dead faith. So it's something that doesn't even benefit you. This is if you have no faith at all. All this is clear to you all. Close that satanic door. And look, let's say you drink a little bit of wine, okay, at the party, like a wedding, whatever. And then you have a neighbor next to you, and he doesn't drink any wine at all. Why? Because he has been battling alcoholism for years. He's been had an issue with alcoholism for years, and that's why for his own sake he doesn't even take any alcohol. So you can drink some wine over there or some beer, whatever, pretty fine for you. You can move on, but because he battled alcoholism, any occasion where alcohol is offered, that for him can become an open door for him to relapse or for him to stumble. Now events where alcohol are served are not a problem for you, but it's an issue for them. So it's not a satanic door for you, it's a satanic door for them. Okay? So satanic doors are not always objective. Sometimes it's only a satanic door for a specific individual. Now, watch your own life. What can become an opportunity for Satan against you? It does not have to be some sin or some a bad thing you're doing, because you can totally be operating in righteousness by the assistance of the Holy Spirit. I'm not talking about that. Maybe you tend to be lenient towards people who are making excuses about your own lives, because you don't want to, you don't want to be judgmental. There's nothing wrong with judging people properly to help them out, but there's something wrong being judgmental in the sense that you just come with superficial conclusions without doing investigation, just being judgmental. But you confuse righteous judgment with being judgmental. That's how church brainwash you. So basically, it's brainwashing now. You are so kind and so open to a lot of people. You actually have to take a step away from. So are you harming anyone? Are you doing any crime? No. But the thing is, you are too open and too lean towards people who are neglectful. And that alone is an opportunity for Satan and evil people to work against you by using these people. So, in this case, admit what these people are. And I'm not telling you to cut them off and ghost them, but please keep them at a safe distance from you, emotionally and also physically. In this case, those people are an open door for Satan to work through you. Now, for, let's say, the security guard that sees them at work, they're not open door, because the security guard is not actually involved with them. Security is just doing his job and leaving. But you are so accessible to these people, not the security guard that works over there. So these people are an opportunity for Satan towards you, but not an opportunity for Satan towards that security guard, because that security guard is not even a believer, he's not even doing the will of God. Okay? So you need to watch your own life, self-reflect, to be honest and real with yourself. Then you can also be honest and real with other people around you, and then you can clearly see the satanic opportunities that are around. And once you see a satanic opportunity, shut it down. Either by walking away from situation, or lowering contact with the people there, or by changing your mind about certain things, giving up certain opinions. You need to be real about your own deliverance, y'all. You have to want to be saved, and you have to want to be delivered, or else it's not going to work for you. No matter how much people pray for you, no matter how many pastors lay hands on you, it's not going to work out well for you long term if you are not willing to be delivered. You have to want to be delivered, just like you have to want to be saved. And one thing you need to understand about some people in the world is that they don't want to be saved. They don't want to be delivered. They don't want to, because to be saved and be delivered, you need to face yourself, face others. You have to go through all of it. The fact alone they need saving is something upsetting them, because they don't even want to admit the situation. Listen, some people don't want to be saved. Some people don't want to be rescued. Some people just want to stay damaged so they can get sympathy from others. It's, nobody in the right mind wants to remain damaged. But some people, they keep themselves in a damaged state so they can use that as a way to withdraw sympathy from others. They're sympathy addicts. Admit when you encounter such people, you all. And please do not think you can change them. Don't think you can convince them to be better. Just don't. In general, they are an open door for Satan. So, because they're an open door, your involvement with them should be at the minimum. And if it's possible not to be involved with them at all, do not be involved with them at all. Do not be involved with them at all. Simple as that. Again, it needs to stop you all. Too many believers keep going from misfortune to misfortune, tragedy to tragedy. Hey, you know what? It's totally unnecessary. Now we will face retaliation in this lifetime, and there will be bad things happening here and there, because you still have a lot of wasteful people on the earth, and you still have demons around. It's all when Jesus Christ is returned. Only the believers are left on the earth as a paradise forever, and Christ dwells amongst us. Only then all of this will be over. But up until Jesus Christ comes back, there will be bad things happening on the earth, and you will have retaliation. But you can be ahead of it and overcome it. You can reduce the amount of bad things even in your environment, but just energetically dominate the space. Why aren't you doing that? Listen, a lot of believers are also in and also giving opportunities for Satan to attack others in their lives. There are believers out there who are giving Satan so much opportunities, not only over themselves, also on the people around them. What is this, you all? Listen, as a brother in Christ, I'm warning you. You need to close those satanic doors. You need to self-reflect, reflect on other people, see what can, and you need to investigate. You can find out what potential opportunities are for Satan in your life and shut down those potential opportunities. Simple as that. If believers were doing this regularly, guess what? We would have more victories, more breakthroughs out here amongst believers. But right now, too many believers are struck down. They are depressed. They're confused. They're backwards. Some are even they're not even delivered, so they keep backsliding here and there. Because once you deliver, you're delivered. Yo, I'm telling you, believers have to do better, y'all. We have to do better. Anyway, are there any questions about this topic? Please let me know. hmm God is good. If you're giving late, you can watch the replay when I finish. Thank you for being here. Keep agreeing in Christ, be at peace, and I'll see you in the next live stream. And don't forget, donate the links below and subscribe to the channel. Shalom.